In the 9th grade of high school, I had a fight with one of my best friends over a girl. Here's that story. In the 9th grade, two of my best friends, Deku and Kelly, moved schools. I was sad to see them go, but because of this I grew closer to my other friends. I grew closer to 3 friends in particular: Princess, Amora, and Amiko. We had a lot of other friends, but I was especially close to these guys. However, we'd been in the same class since the 7th grade, so there was a bit of history between us. Me and Amiko were best friends, and Princess and Amora were best friends. Well, they were. Throughout the years, some things happened. Amiko and Amora dated for a while, and shortly after ending it, Amiko and Princess started dating. They were on again, off again for the next few years to follow. I don't exactly remember if it was because of their history with Amiko, but Princess and Amora's friendship turned sour. They began to dislike each other, and their best friendship turned into a mutual distaste for each other. I don't think they hated each other exactly, but they weren't on the greatest terms. Amiko and I, on the other hand, grew closer and closer. It became routine for us to go to the wetlands after school and stay there until nightfall. We laughed, played, did what most teen boys do at that age. We chatted about our crushes, Amiko's crush on Princess to be more specific, and I gave him as much advice as I could to help him better understand Princess and bridge them together whenever they argued. It was fun, really. Well, it was. As time went on, Princess and Amora spent less and less time together. Because of this, I spent most of my time at school with Princess while Amiko spent most of his time with Amora. All 4 of us still hung out, but not as much. I began to develop a crush on Amora, and when I told Princess this, she was annoyed at first, but she decided she would support me with it. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I had a thing for girls who Princess didn't like. Don't ask me why, I honestly have no idea. Because of this, things started to turn sour. Even though Amiko said he liked Princess, he started to flirt with Amora. And she would flirt back. What the hell were they doing? Didn't Amiko like Princess? Princess and I began to speculate that maybe Amiko wasn't being as truthful about his feelings as we thought. I began to distrust Amiko. And eventually that distrust turned to hate. You were supposed to be my friend. Why are you flirting with the girl I'm so obviously interested in? I started to ignore Amiko. I didn't want to be his friend anymore. Amiko realized that I didn't want to be his friend, but he didn't try to figure out why. In turn, he too started to avoid me. Instead of sitting together in class, the 4 of us separated. I sat with Princess, and Amiko sat with Amora. We went from being close friends to being enemies. Let me introduce you guys to another character, Miss Melody. Why am I introducing a teacher to this story? You'll see. Miss Melody was quirky. She wasn't like the other teachers. She very clearly cared about her job and her students. Because our class was so close and she was a part of our class, she too was loved and cared for by her students. We all kind of saw her as a second mum. Whenever we had issues with school or home or things we couldn't talk to adults about, we would seek out Miss Melody for her guidance. And she would take the time to hear us out and to give us advice. When I think about my time at high school, I always remember Miss Melody because she was truly a good person. As time went on, Miss Melody started to see the tension between her students. I don't want to put words into Miss Melody's mouth, but we were her favourites. Don't bother denying that, Miss Melody, I see you. But because of this, she started to become concerned. She'd ask every now and then if we were okay, but we didn't want to share our story with her. Maybe because we knew she would try to fix our broken friendship and we didn't want that. We were too angry to be friends again. Eventually, Miss Melody pulled Princess aside and cornered her. She demanded Princess tell her what had happened, and eventually Princess cracked and told her. She told her why Amico and I had stopped sitting next to each other, had stopped speaking. Miss Melody wasn't happy. The next time we had maths, we were expecting to have a test. While Miss Melody handed out the test sheets, she signaled to me that she wanted to see me in the other classroom. I left my seat and went to see what she wanted. And I saw Amico. He too had been called to the other room. Were we in trouble? I don't think we'd done anything wrong. Well, not anything that we'd been caught for, at least. I turned around to ask Miss Melody what she wanted, and saw her slam the door and lock it. Miss Melody, what the hell is going on? I tried opening the door, but it wouldn't budge. You two are not leaving this room until you sort yourselves out. Don't let girls be the thing that tears apart your friendship, Sultan. She then turned around and went back to our classroom. I looked around at Amico and he was just as dumbfounded as I was. At least we could agree that this was insane. But this was just the kind of thing Miss Melody would do. I don't even think the math test was an actual thing. Maybe just some excuse to get the two of us alone. There were many things Amico and I had in common, one of them being stubbornness. None of us wanted to be the first to break the silence. That would mean admitting defeat. We sat there in silence, refusing to speak to each other. I had done nothing wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and give him the satisfaction of speaking first. And I guess he felt the same because he did the same. I honestly don't remember who spoke first, but the awkwardness was killing us. What are we doing, man? I thought we were close enough to talk about things that annoy us. Amico replied with, "You're telling me. You're the one who started avoiding me first." I started to get angry. "That's because you're flirting with Amora, and you know I like her. How could you do that to Princess?" I finally broke and told him exactly how I felt. Amico looked confused. "Wait, you like Amora? You think I'm flirting with her? Back it up, dude. I thought you liked Princess." "Wait, what? I don't like Princess. Why would you think that?" Amico started to get angry as well. "Because you always flirt with her." "No, I don't. Me and Princess are best friends. Of course we're gonna act close." "Well, so are me and Amora," he argued. "Of course we're gonna act close because we're best friends. You never even told me you had feelings for Amora." Me and Amico stared at each other. And then I started to laugh. "I'm an idiot," I said. The friendship that Princess and I had, I thought it was so special that no one else could have what we had. I was so ignorant that I didn't realize that it wasn't impossible for other boys and girls to be best friends with each other. What Princess and I had, that was something that Amico and Amora had. Yes, there was history between them, but they had gotten past that. And because of that, they realized just how great they were as friends. Amora was someone that Amico would go to talk to about his feelings for Princess. They weren't flirting. They never had. Just like Princess and I had never flirted. I told Amico I was sorry, that this was all my fault. He too turned to me and apologized for not asking me what was wrong in the first place. This whole issue was just a bunch of miscommunication. If we had just sat down at the beginning and talked about what each other had thought, none of this would have happened. If you have a friend who you care about, and then something happens that troubles you, talk about it. Find out what happened and why. Sometimes, not everything is as it seems. Amico and I reconnected, and in turn all four of us did. Amora and Princess still had their issues, but they were mature and at least civil when all of us were together. Because of our teacher's ambush, we all became friends again. Sometimes, all you need is a nosy teacher. Amico and Princess were on again, off again, but eventually they realized they were better off as friends, and so the relationship turned platonic. I'm sure you're wondering what happened with Amora and I. Well, eventually I confessed to her. And she confessed to me. It turns out that she had feelings for me all along. Our crush didn't last, however, as a few weeks later Amora moved schools. Damn, it kinda seems like anyone I get close to ends up moving. Maybe I'm cursed. I was sad about her leaving, but we weren't anything serious, so I knew I'd be fine, and so would she. Princess, Amico and I remained friends, and we did all the way through high school. In the last year of high school, I realized I had feelings for Princess, and when I told Amico, he was really supportive, and was one of the very few people who would give me advice on how to cope with it all. Our friendship was strong, and something I still cherish to this day. I guess the moral of the story is, don't be so quick to jump to conclusions. Don't be so quick to judge people. And above all, make sure you're open with your friends about your feelings. If Amico and I hadn't been given that opportunity to sort things out, I don't know if we'd ever reconnected. I don't think we would have been friends again. I'm really grateful to my teacher, but it should have been sorted out between the four of us. We should have opened up and talked about it. Miss Melody, if you ever stumble upon this video, and who knows, I might send it to you on Instagram, I just want to say thank you for not giving up on us. And thank you for caring. Because of you, I got my friend back. You're truly a good person. Well, you're mostly a good person. Hi miss, you wanted to see us? What could be so important that you had to call us after school? The math test you both missed. Good luck, boys. Oh well, it was worth it.